Welcome into Redacted, everybody. I'm Natalie Morris.
And I'm Clayton Morris.
And today we're going to cover the stories the mainstream media largely ignores, such as this new military engagement in Gaza. Israel is calling up 60,000 new troops. What do you think they're going to do with that? We're going to talk about that. Also, Poland's big mistake in the war in Ukraine. And does President Trump deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for the agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia? Well, Kevork Almassian is going to join us. He says, no, actually. He's saying this is actually not a lasting peace deal. So let's hold our horses a little bit. Clayton's holding his horses to say things. How are you today, my darling?
Great.
All right. You don't have to hold your horses any longer. What have you got?
Also, you know who's running for president in 2028? It's Gavin Newsom of California. Of course, he hasn't officially announced yet, but all of the pieces are coming together. He's making his big podcast tour. He's launched his own podcast. He's trying to go on as many MAGA podcasts as possible. He's trying to get himself on Tucker's show, on Joe Rogan's show, all of them. But this makeover comes with a really interesting new twist that we're going to talk about on today's show. We're going to dive into all of these stories and more. And we've got a lot of great guests for you on this Wednesday. I just want to say something. I'm really excited today because after today's show, I get to sit down and do a deep dive interview with Timothy Alberino. We are going to talk about what is being hidden inside the Smithsonian Institution. What is what is underneath? We're going to talk about giants. We're going to talk about Nephilim. We're going to have a great deep dive conversation. So I'm excited to sit down with him. We'll post that interview a little bit later in the week here on the channel. So thank you guys for subscribing and being a part of our great community here. I really enjoy. Where's my cheerleading outfit? Someone in the chat wants to know. I'm not no male cheerleaders in NFL football. I don't care about be a male cheerleader. I don't care about it all, but male cheerleaders. And we had some on our Wilson High School team, and they were fantastic. They would throw the women up in the air, and I was friends with them. They were great. Not in the NFL football, prancing around in little shorts with makeup on.
We're not going to revisit this one. I've already made the point that I'm going to make about it, and you're hurting Philip's feelings because he was a cheerleader.
I didn't. Don't speak for him.
No, I wasn't.
He wasn't.
I was in winter guard.
Okay, he was that. And your feelings are hurt, right? I am speaking for you.
Philip was a baton twirler. Right. How many other lies do you want to cut through the lies today on this show?
I did do my senior year of high school. I did do winter guard, and it was specifically because a conversation came up with my vice principal in high school, and I was known as kind of a troublemaker, and I mentioned that I was going to do it, just joking around. He said, no, you can't because it's a female sport. So then I did it anyway just to piss him off. And so that was how I ended up in winter guard.
That's so punk rock of you.
All right, we got a lot of news to get to. We're going to talk about the latest with Hungary and Ukraine. I mean, what the hell is Ukraine doing bombing pipeline to Hungary? Hungary is ready to fire back and launch a round of strikes of their own. I mean, you literally attack a freaking NATO country. What does this mean for Poland? What does this mean for Hungary? What does this mean for the other NATO countries right now who are sitting there wondering what this corrupt government of Ukraine is going to do? So we're going to get to all of that in moments here. But first, guys, it is time to get your finances in order. And that's why for the last 15 years, we've been partnering with our friends at Sedera Wealth. We've helped thousands of people build financial freedom, people that literally had no money when our team started working with them, zero. And they figured out a path to financial freedom. And then we've worked with people that have, millions of dollars who wanted to use a 1031 exchange and start to invest in real estate. So we've done it all. And we've just launched a brand new website that I want to tell you about. And guess what? Take a look right here at your screen. What would it mean for you to get a free 30-minute strategy call with one of our wealth team members from Sedera Wealth? Totally free. All you need to do is go to redacted.inc/wealth and click on that big red button right there on the screen that says book your free strategy session. A calendar will pop up. You pick the time on the calendar that works for you. And the best part, so when you book the free call, you'll also get the Freedom 5 Formula, which is a free book, which is a blueprint to build financial freedom. So many people are frustrated, working a 9-to-5 job and they're not saving any money, or they're putting their money into a 401k plan that's not working for them. Like, this is something that transformed our lives a number of years ago, more than a decade ago now, when Natalie and I started figuring this whole thing out. Like, God, why do we not have enough money at the end of the month? Like, what is going on? Why can't we pay our mortgage? And that's when we figured this whole thing out, how to actually invest in real estate, how to be smarter with our money, not making Wall Street wealthy, but actually making ourselves wealthy. So anyway, just go to redacted.inc/wealth, pick that big red button right there in the middle of the screen, and book a free 30-minute phone call with our team members. And they will pick, they will call you at the time that you pick. You can start investing in new construction properties and understand how all of this works. Even if you're just beginning and you don't understand anything about the process, that's what they're here for. They're fantastic. They're they're a great American team in Texas. Give them a call. Go to redacted.inc/wealth today.
Well, Israeli media reports that 60,000 military reservists are being called up to handle the takeover of Gaza City. Again, this is from the Times of Israel. 60,000 troops. What do you think they need them for? Well, I'm going to show you. This is on top of the tens of thousands that are already deployed. These people have 2 weeks to report for duty, and it is to, quote, participate in the operation to capture Gaza City. Now, this comes as President Trump seems to have okayed the takeover of Gaza City, one of the few places that remain standing in Gaza. But what even is there left to take over? A new Haaretz report is shocking, and we're going to show it to you. It shows the scale of demolition in Gaza, and it is unprecedented in Israeli history, probably in any history, because this is the only time in modern era where we had full city infrastructure and the full dismantling of a city all at once. They have hundreds of heavy machines, massive fuel consumption, relentless pulverization of residential areas. They're calling this, now, this kind of boggles my mind. They're saying this is the biggest engineering project in all of Israeli history. But it's not about building things, roads, bridges, anything like that. It's the systematic erasure of an entire civilization. We link to this in the newsletter today. It's an absolutely dystopian reality written out in black and white for us all to see. Now, every building, they're saying, they quote Israeli media and project managers, they're saying, every building has to come down one by one. That's why they need 60,000 people. Officers who are asked about this says no one is demolishing buildings for the fun of it. Every structure is a threat. Every building can conceal a sniper or an entrance to a tunnel. And in fact, when we do hear about Israeli soldiers that die inside of Gaza, a lot of times it's because of these demolitions. They're using unsafe explosives. A lot of them are undersea mines that they had used up, and they just don't have any more of those. So now they're demolishing it bit by bit. And I guess you can't just, drive a tank into a building safely. You have to have engineers to do it. Now, again, they are paying inflated prices. They're saying, it may cost $1,000 a day to rent one of these bulldozers, but the Israeli government is paying around $2,000 to $5,000 a day, I guess, because they have it, because they have support from American government. They have that money. But even being willing to pay those prices, they're pretty much out of equipment. Take a look at this. They say they're running out of demolition equipment. Contractors are renting bulldozers and excavators directly to the army, but demand is so high, there's nothing left in inventory. Each demolition team brings 8 to 12 machines and can level nearly 100 buildings in a single day. Think of that. It boggles the mind. Now they're even sending people to China because they say, we're ordering more equipment from Volvo, but Volvo can't fulfill it. Volvo is saying, you need a new steamroller or what have you. 6 to 7 months is the fastest we can get that to you. Because, think of it, like we're so busy with war. They can't even get a steamroller to Israel in 6 to 7 months. So they're going to China to see if they can get more demolition equipment.
First of all, China's never going to go along with this. I would be stunned.
They are doing it.
What?
They're going to buy the equipment. That's what Haaretz, it's not.
No, I'm just saying, is China going to allow it? China has been vehemently opposed to this, so I'd be stunned if China's like, we're going to send steamrollers so you can steamroll buildings in Gaza.
Well, maybe I misspoke if that was your understanding. They're not going to the Chinese government. They're going to private industry to buy these things in China.
I know, but all I'm saying is the Chinese Communist Party has a big hand in what the Chinese private market does. And if they catch wind of this through these private enterprises that are going to be sending steamrollers into Gaza, something tells me that the Chinese Communist Party is not going to be happy about that.
Well, okay, let's look at what's reported. It seems to me, can we bring that screen back up, please, full screen? They're saying, where does it say here? The bottom paragraph.
Yeah.
The demand means that importers currently have no heavy equipment in stock. If you order a piece of heavy equipment from a company like Volvo, which I'm sure Volvo loves this advertisement, you'll wait 6 to 7 months for it to be delivered. That's why last week we were in China to look into importing. Okay, so I read it as it was a done deal. They are looking into it.
Now, Great Caesar says the CCP doesn't care. Maybe they don't care. But others are saying that, well, there is no private industry in China at all. So the idea that there's actual private industry separate from that is bunk anyway. So I just would be stunned, given the fact that they want this to end and they absolutely don't want there to be, continued genocide in Gaza, that they would be supplying steamrollers.
Okay.
I'd be stunned.
That deserves some following up.
Yeah.
So let's put a pin in that. There is also the matter of removing this debris, which experts estimate will take 12 years. You guys, 12 years. They're saying that there's now over 50 million tons of debris, which will cost at least $1 billion to clear. Experts say it could take between 8 and 12 years just to remove the rubble, much of which they're saying is booby-trapped. They're also saying the challenge of hauling huge amounts of iron and concrete over Gaza's sandy terrain, which makes the cleanup even more difficult. So, this idea that there is such a thing as, look at that. That's not precision strikes. That's not, we're just targeting Hamas. They're saying Hamas may be somewhere, but every single building has to come down because we don't know. But what about the ceasefire? Why do they need 60,000 troops and all of this construction equipment if there's a ceasefire on the table? Outlets are reporting that there are talks of what's called a limited ceasefire. Hamas is offering all hostages in exchange for a ceasefire. It's Israel that puts that limited word there because they want to come in and finish the job, which makes it clear that this was never actually about the hostages, given how many times that Hamas has offered all of them. Note the wording again here on the word limited for ceasefire. Some hostages may be exchanged, but Israel will not release all of the Palestinian hostages that they have, nor will they halt its plan for a full takeover of Gaza, especially not with an extra 60,000 troops now suited up for the job. But the hostage families are just beside themselves in despair with the window of hope closing. They know that Netanyahu is trying to thwart a deal to bring home their family. They're protesting in the streets. They're demanding that U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff do something about this. But that's going to be, by the time Gaza is razed, there's no hope anymore. Even though they know Hamas is saying, you can have them all. They know that it's Netanyahu saying no. They don't understand this. Here's a quote from one of them. I've been hearing from mediators that Hamas wants to put a deal on the table for everyone. Unfortunately, we don't see that deal, only a partial deal. The question is, who's not pushing for a deal anymore? We don't know. We just don't know. And so the heartbreaking reality is that their family is being used as pawns for this, what the Israeli government has always wanted, which is a full destruction of Gaza. And that's the reality, is these 60,000 new troops aren't being mobilized to bring them hostages home. They're being mobilized to flatten Gaza. It's not a rescue mission anymore. This is scorched earth. Is there any way to see it elsewise?
Someone in our chat says, if I can get it, Israel's looking to, LODH Best Bees says Israel's looking to rebuild Gaza for themselves. Right, it's part of the greater Israel project. Of course, this was always the plan. This was the reason that Israel stood down on October 7th and allowed Hamas to attack targets and killing Israeli soldiers. Imagine if you were the parents of those young women who were IDF soldiers in those barracks and in those boundary lines that were killed as a result of your government allowing the stand down of this to happen, so your children are killed, all part of this greater Israel project. People are pointing out steamrollers, of course, for soil compaction. So
sorry,
yes. But I wasn't correcting you. I'm just saying, but they're gone. So once all that rubble is removed, where's it going to go? People are asking, where's it going to go? And then soil compaction, so it's nice and solid there. They can start rebuilding all of those Jared Kushner,
right?
David Petraeus style condominiums. David Petraeus actively involved in investing in this big project to start to build condominiums there that would be sort of surveillance concentration camps. Mm-hmm. He described them like Boca Raton, remember he said?
Yeah.
But instead they're going to have cameras and they'll be sort of tracking, biometric scanning. So they'll basically be like a concentration camp. So
right.
That's what's coming.
So that was for instance. I don't know why you would need a steamroller. I didn't mean that. But we have showed you pictures of the bear. They call it the teddy bear, which is a truly horrific looking bulldozer that they have. So look those up if you don't know what that is. And in fact, actually, there was a picture on the first graphic we showed you. Well,
let's also talk about the reservists because we had Max Blumenthal on a few weeks ago from the Gray Zone, Jewish journalist Max Blumenthal, and he was pointing out that many of the reservists who were being called up are just not showing up. And they're basically saying, and they're using excuses, and this is reported in the Times of Israel and local newspapers in Israel. They're saying things like, my wife's not letting me. I got to, tend to the family.
Is that your freedom to do in Israel, and for how long?
Can you just say? I mean, let us know if you're like an IDF reservist and you live in Israel and you're watching our show. Can you imagine? But number one, if that's the case, can you just use that as an excuse? Because they're saying also, I'm fatigued. I've been called up too many times. You were only supposed to call me up once or twice. Now you've called me up 3 or 4 times. You've been calling me up here as a reservist, and now I'm just tired. I don't want to go back. And they're blaming and saying, my wife won't let me do it.
Well, here's an interesting question, because we know a lot of IDF soldiers live in the United States. Would the United States deport them if Israel calls them up? Would the United States enforce this?
It depends on if they're Israeli soldiers or if they're U.S. citizens. Like, why would, and if you have dual citizenship?
Well, we had this happen in Ukraine, that Ukraine wanted all of their expats to come back because they have depleted all of their soldiers. They asked for Europe to deport these people who had been given a diplomatic residency card or a refugee residency card. And Zelensky said, we want them back. Send them back right now. The United States never complied with that for Ukraine. Would the United States do that for Israel? Send people into this horrific job that they don't want to go to?
Retro Bass says Redacted has lost the plot. What's the plot exactly? What is the plot? The plot for many, many years is the Greater Israel Project since the 1940s. Like, what's that is the plot. That's what you're seeing play out in front of you. What exactly is your plot? And I'm just curious.
We reported the level of destruction that Haaretz Israeli media has shown us.
Yeah, this is Israeli media showing us.
What is the plot? You don't want to see that? What is it that is lost here I'm not extrapolating anything. I'm just showing you what's happening while we are living our lives and going to the grocery store, putting gas in our cars.
IDF Jericho. Here's an IDF soldier says Palestine asked for it. Ask for it. Palestine asked for it. IDF. Thank you, Jericho, from the IDF for joining us today on the show. Enjoy that. By the way, you're as a reservist, or you're being called up, so you probably should get off social media and go and bulldoze the city. Hey, we got more news to get to here on your Wednesday. We're going to talk about Hungary being attacked by Ukraine. What the hell? A NATO country? And it happens literally at the moment Zelensky is in the White House with President Trump. Now Hungary is saying that this is unacceptable and we are ready to fire back. On top of that, Poland seems to be siding and taking the side of Ukraine in all of this, hardlining against Russia. What will the future of Poland look like? We're going to talk about that in moments here on the show. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at Shopify. They are the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., including the Redacted store, which you see on your screen right now. They have not only the Redacted store, but also household names like Mattel, Gymshark, to brands just getting started. So you can get started with your own design studio. They have hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build online stores beautifully to match your style. You can accelerate your content creation, and they're packed with helpful AI tools that help make your store even more beautiful. And you don't have to know web design, graphic design, back end. You don't have to know e-commerce. They do it all for you, and they help you every step of the way. That is absolutely our experience running the Redacted store on Shopify, and it will be for you too. You can sign up for a 1-month trial period today by going to shopify.com/redacted. Again, there's everything you need to grow your business. It's shopify.com/redacted, and you get that 1-month trial period. Shopify.com/redacted. And we just had a viewer just said they used our code and they set up their Shopify store.
Amazing.
So thank you so much for that.
Did they tell us what kind of store it is?
I don't know. Let us know what kind of store you built.
We'll go take a look.
Yeah, and maybe we'll share it here on the show. Anyway, if it's all set up and ready to go, we'd be happy to do that.
And PG.
Yeah, PG. That's true. All right. Well, Hungary is pissed, and they are ready to fight back against Ukraine for attacking its oil pipeline at the very moment that Zelensky was meeting with Trump in Washington, D.C. Hungary called it, quote, outrageous and unacceptable, and writing that whoever attacks our energy security is, in fact, attacking our sovereignty. Imagine that. Imagine if Germany had said that after the United States and its Ukrainian friends blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. No, Germany rolled over like a beta dog, had its belly rubbed. And then, of course, we saw the destruction of Germany, and we know where that sits right now. Yeah, they called it, quote, outrageous and unacceptable, attacking our sovereignty. And now Hungary is threatening to fire back, threatening Kiev with electricity cuts, threatening to cut off its electricity after it bombed its pipeline. What are they thinking attacking a NATO country? More on that part of the story in a second. Meanwhile, is Poland digging its own grave and about to make a big mistake, taking a hard line against Putin and Russia? A new poll out of Poland is showing something pretty striking. More than half of the Polish public, over 50%, are dead set against Ukraine making any territorial concessions to Russia. What? That means they're effectively supporting a hardline stance that could prolong the conflict, saying don't end this war, don't give up any land. Remember, these territories have been at the heart of the violence since 2014's CIA-backed coup in Ukraine, one that led to a tragic situation for ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine, a genocide where neo-Nazis said enough is neo-Nazis running things in Ukraine carried out constant attacks on civilians living in eastern Ukraine, hitting schools, hitting playgrounds for crying out loud, launching pedal mines so little kids could go outside and pick them up and have their hands blown off. Yeah, that was happening. So Russia said enough is enough. And they launched their special military operation. And guess what? These people in those areas voted overwhelmingly, over 90%, to join the Russian Federation. So it is now Russian Federation territory, whether they like it or not, and said goodbye to the most corrupt government in Europe, Ukraine. So the big question is this: are we watching Poland dig its own grave by supporting this failed state? The public mood is still heavily in favor of taking a tough line. In fact, according to this new poll, that then the people that rule Poland, 77% reject any concessions at all to Putin and Moscow. 77% say no concessions at all. I guess that includes Crimea as well. I don't know. So with that backdrop, let's bring in the brilliant Dr. Mike Krupa, one of the smartest men in all of Warsaw, Poland. Truly, a really, really smart person. I sure hope more people wake up and listen to you, Dr. Krupa. Great to have you back here on the show. So, first of all, let's just talk about the backdrop of all of this. Zelensky is in Washington, D.C. He's meeting with Trump. We seem to be making progress. Territorial concessions on the table. Trump even had a giant map in the room. Here's what you're giving up, basically. And the Polish people are saying, no, don't give up any land. What is going on?
Yeah, great to be back on the show, guys. That poll that you mentioned was conducted by a polling company called Ibris for one of our mainstream weeklies called Rzeczpospolita. And the results are pretty surprising, but in a way not surprising, because as you mentioned, there's a number there that 70%, and this has to be mentioned, of the voters of the current liberal left ruling coalition do not want to make any sort of compromises with Moscow. They don't favor any compromises with Moscow regarding ending the war in Ukraine, which is not surprising because the entire foundation of the current coalition government in Poland is based on rabid Russophobia, uncompromising Russophobia, and basically bandwagoning with anything that the European Union and Berlin basically propose in this regard. So that's not surprising. But if you break down the numbers, actually, if you crunch them down even deeper, it turns out that we have a lot of boomers in Poland, if not most of the boomers, I would say 55 and plus people who, it's a funny situation, who had their basic education, high school education, some college educated back in communist Poland, in Russian occupied Poland. And they have turned against Russia in a very, some would consider unexpected way. This is actually one of the themes of Emmanuel Todd's book about the defeat of the West. It's actually being translated into English right now. Emmanuel Todd is obviously a very famous French demographer, sociologist. And in his book, he writes about how a lot of the middle-class elites of Eastern Europe that were educated during the communist time, so as I said, formerly under Soviet Russian occupation, and fairly well educated at that, have actually come out strongly against Russia, which seems to be a pretty big paradox. But if you crunch the numbers even deeper, it turns out that the smart layer in Polish society is actually people under 40, because over 50% of 30-plus aged Poles are actually willing to compromise, to come to a compromise when it comes to ending the war in Ukraine. And these would be mostly the voters of the Confederation Party that we've discussed many times on your show. So the young people see that the future should be a peaceful future. It should be a future of compromise, a future of a working relationship between Warsaw and Moscow, whereas the boomers seem to be dead-enders, thinking that, it's 1980 all over again, that Ronald Reagan is making speeches about the evil empire. It's, as Barack Obama, I think, famously said in that famous debate with Mitt Romney, I think it was back in 2012, the 1980s are calling it, want their foreign policy back.
Well, but anybody who would feel this way would be sincerely afraid of the narrative that Russia is going to march all the way across Ukraine into Poland. So they have to be buying some pretty heavy BS. And so we can sort of say, like, why do you buy that stuff? But at the same time, we have to have empathy for the fact that they must be legitimately scared, which makes me mad that their leaders are manipulating their fear.
Notice that in that press note about that Ibris poll, they mentioned that the majority of the people who don't want to compromise with Russia regarding Ukraine basically take their information from mainstream media. So in Poland, it would either be the government-run media, Polish television, TFP, or the liberal private media run by Discovery Channel, which is in Poland, TVN24, but they basically have the same message on Russia. Putin bad, Russia must die, we have to win the new Cold War, and so on and so forth. So if you consider that their source of information is mainstream BS, it's not really surprising. Whereas the 30 age group and the voters of Confederation who actually see this war ending on realistic terms, i.e. Russia also has national security interests that have to be taken into consideration, are people that get their information from sources such as yours, dissident media, alternative media. They have moved into the revolution of the 21st century where, reading mainstream newspapers and me reading, and watching mainstream television is basically cringe. That's something their parents do, but the boomers do. But the younger generation is definitely ahead of its times in terms of information consumption and what's really happening regarding Russia and Ukraine. That's a good sign, because hopefully these people will come to power in the next couple of years in the Polish parliamentary elections, and not only.
Well, we have I get a lot of comments from Polish viewers who say, thank you for this. We can't get this information in Poland from our own media. They watch our show, and we have millions of them who watch our show. So thank you to the Polish people on that. Maybe I'll tell a little tale out of school here if I can, Mike, which is you and I and Douglas McGregor and a couple of other individuals have a nice little email thread going. And Colonel McGregor weighed in on this whole poll, and I liked his take on this. I want to get your thoughts on this, if he's correct on. He says, what happens when the Americans simply walk away? Like, where will Poland be then? Where does that leave Poland? Because Moscow has no reason to cooperate with Poland on anything of consequence at all. So they're really setting themselves up for failure, in many ways digging their own grave. Do you agree with Colonel McGregor?
I do. Now, from what I've noticed, the Russians aren't vindictive in their foreign policy. They're professionals. So even if we reach a grand compromise regarding Ukraine, and for example, as the aforementioned Emmanuel Todd mentioned in his book, there will come a time when there will be a grand rapprochement between Germany and Russia. It's just a matter of time, because the economy of Germany needs Russia and Russia needs Germany. It's just a natural alignment. But there's a country in between. It's called Poland, my country, that should be doing everything in its power to get on the good side of Russia. That's why I wrote an article for one of Poland's mainstream periodicals this week, the conservative Do Rzeczy Weekly, about how President Nawrocki can potentially do a Nixonian-style pivot in opening up relations alliances with Moscow, hopefully. President Navrutsky, I hope you read that article. I'm in contact with some of your advisors, so maybe they sent a word to you in that regard. But I would agree with you that even though Russians will not be vindictive regarding Poland in terms of professionally conducting foreign policy, we might lose out on a lot of occasions. That's why I say what we should be doing at this point in this pivotal moment of the beginning of the end of the Ukrainian war, hopefully, which started in Anchorage, is we should be at the forefront of already building, back channels to Moscow. Just like Viktor Orban is doing overtly, just like Robert Fico is doing overtly. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Western European governments are doing in a back channel way. It's just we're not hearing about it. Poland cannot be a reactive player in terms of building a new European security architecture. We have to be an active player. And that's what I postulate in this article that I wrote about President Navrutsky's Eastern chance, as I called it. Hopefully it'll come to fruition because, as you mentioned, we don't want to be left with our hands in the toilet, as the old Polish saying goes, when everything is said and done.
I don't know how that's an old Polish saying. I need to get a book on the old Polish sayings.
Don't put your hand in the toilet.
Hand in a toilet. Don't.
It's a long story.
Yeah, I imagine someday over beers you'll have to tell me about that. But you did bring up Viktor Orban, and Hungary is on the table. So is it why? I mean, what's your assessment of why in the hell Ukraine decides to attack Hungary? And literally, you have the Hungarian government saying you're attacking our sovereignty, and they're ready to fight back. Is it because of the relationship now, Viktor Orban trying to, be out there in front with a relationship with Putin post-war here? Like, this seems madness to me. A NATO country?
Yeah, for sure. Consider that it was Politico that was reporting in the last 24 hours that apparently the White House is eyeing Budapest as a place of the Zelensky-Putin meeting. Now, we know that Prime Minister Orban has been at the forefront of doing his sort of, shuttle diplomacy in the last year when he was sort of the head of the European Union. He went to Moscow, he went to Kiev, he went to Beijing, and he ended his diplomatic tour in Mar-a-Lago. So I think he sort of set the stage for some of the things that Donald Trump is saying. And I would remind you that I think it was 2 days ago at a press conference that the president said, according to my discussions with Viktor Orban, we know that the Russians are a powerhouse, and we know that the Russians are going to win this war. They defeated Napoleon, they defeated Hitler, and he referenced Viktor Orban, his friend Viktor Orban. So they've had these discussions. The Hungarian prime minister has left some sort of mental impact on the president, which is a good thing because he's the only sane European leader that's talking sense into the president's ear, which is good. And the more Viktor Orban President Trump hears, the better for the United States and the better for peace. So what I think Ukraine, was trying to do at this juncture was basically a sort of bitch slap towards Hungary, saying, in any way that we can slap you, we're going to do it while we still have the chance. But it's very immature. From what I gather, that pipeline has already been brought back up, and it also affected Slovakia's energy, from what I understand. Yeah. Also, not only Hungary's grid. So it's just Zelensky showing, their middle finger. I don't know whether he took, a little bag of white powder into his nose when he came back from Washington and ordered that. Could be, who knows, it's Zelensky. But they'll stand their ground. I'm very happy to hear that Fico and Orban haven't moved an inch, and they're standing firmly on a peace agenda and a realist agenda when it comes to ending this tragic war in Ukraine.
Yeah, it turns out they don't waver like Germans do, I guess, when you blow up your pipeline, or when you attack your pipeline, roll over like a little bitch is exactly what Germany did. Dr. Mike Krupa, always great to see you. Many people in our chat say, Mike, thank you for being a voice of honesty in Poland. They appreciate you. We appreciate you as always. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys. Take care.
All right, you as well.
You too.
Very late there in Warsaw, so thank you. Thank you, Mike.
2 years ago, Clayton and I went to the Oil and Gas Museum in Norway, and I said, should I go ask them why they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline? We were just touring. It was like teenagers running it.
It's like a docent is like, I just work here at the museum. I don't have anything to do with the blowing up of pipelines. Sorry, Philip, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm glad to see NATO working as intended, because that obviously just immediately triggered was it Article 5, right? We're now going to war against Ukraine.
You would think,
because isn't that how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah. NATO is like, NATO authorities are like, we're looking at this closely. Oh yeah, you're really looking at. You really give a rat's ass that
right.
Ukraine just attacked a NATO country.
It's not like a NATO country attacked another NATO country and they have like a crisis in that where they can't do it. Ukraine is not a NATO country. So a non-NATO country just attacked a NATO country and we're just like, hands in the air.
This is fine.
Oh, my God.
I'll let it slide.
Hey, Kevork Almassian, great Syrian journalist from Syriana Analysis, is going to be joining us in moments to talk about, Trump going after peace. Really, I think wants this peace prize. And can he get it from Armenia and Azerbaijan? Or is it all one big Washington trap that, maybe we're being all fooled by what's actually going on here? We're going to talk about that.
Yes. But first, Clayton's going to tell you about our friends over at American Financing.
That's right. If you've been living on credit cards just to cover groceries, gas, and bills, those interest rates are brutal. I mean, over 25% in some instances. That's ridiculous. Why pay that to the banks when you could call our friends over at American Financing? They have mortgage rates in the 5% range. They are showing people every day how to keep more of their hard-earned money in their pocket and out of the hands of credit card companies. Right now, American Financing is helping homeowners save an average of $800 a month just by using their home equity to wipe out high-interest debt. With no upfront fees, no obligation, just a 10-minute phone call to a salary-based mortgage consultant. And here's the kicker. If you start today, you could delay up to 2 mortgage payments, putting even more cash in your hands right away. So don't wait. Give them a call today, 866-890-8434. That's 866-890-8434. Their NMLS number is 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. APR rates in the 5s start at 6.327% for well-qualified borrowers. Again, call 866-890-8434 for details about credit costs and terms.
Well, peace has finally been inked between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but not everyone is ready to hand out Nobel Peace Prizes, even though the leaders of both nations met with President Trump last week and said, oh my gosh, so glad that you did this for us. We should perhaps, give President Trump a Nobel Peace Prize for the fact that we've done this. Watch.
Can I have a suggestion?
Yes.
So maybe we agree with Prime Minister Pashinyan to send a joint appeal to Nobel Committee to award President Trump with the Nobel Peace Prize because from the leaders of the countries which were at war for more than 3 decades, having this historic signature here, it really means a lot. This is tangible result of President Trump's leadership, and no one could have achieved that. So who, if not President Trump, deserves the Nobel?
Okay. Well, are those leaders really done with this war? Do they mean it? Or are the underlying causes still persistent? Kevork Almassian is the host of Syriana Analysis. He says not so fast. He says this is a Band-Aid slapped onto a deeply broken arrangement, a temporary patch on a wound that just keeps reopening. So thank you, Kevork, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a really pleasure, Natalie.
Okay, you did a beautiful deep dive of this in your on Syriana Analysis, and I watched it. So can you sort of explain the history of the conflict briefly and what this deal means and why now we have suddenly this Trump route for prosperity? Like now we have land there? What the heck?
So there are deep grievances between the Armenians, the Azeris, and the Turks because of the Armenian genocide. But after the end of the First World War, Stalin has given a piece of land called Karabakh to Azerbaijan when Azerbaijan was a newly formed Azeri Socialist Republic back then. And this enclave was inhabited by Armenians, and it stayed under the occupation of Azerbaijan until 1993, when the Soviet Union collapsed and the Armenians rose and they fought for their liberation, and they hold a referendum there in order to gain their independence. So they have gained an independent enclave called the Artsakh Republic until, of course, 2018. Now, what happened? I want to give a little bit of historical context very fast. After the independence of Armenia, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Yerevan stayed a strategic ally of Moscow until 2018, when Armenia witnessed a color revolution, and this color revolution brought Nikol Pashinyan, the current leader of Armenia, into power. And many people in Armenia and abroad, especially in the diaspora, they call him the executive director of the globalists. He came through the funding and the support of the usual suspects as the USAID, the NED, and also the Soros organizations. Now, 2 years into his leadership, Pashinyan capitulated to Azerbaijan and signed a document which recognized Nagorno-Karabakh as an Azeri territory. And this led into the withdrawal of the Russian peacekeeping forces from Nagorno-Karabakh, which means in the southern Caucasus, and also the ethnic cleansing of 120,000 Armenians from this enclave, the independent enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh. However, the planners, let's say, in the Pashinyan government, in the EU, in the United States, they saw these steps as necessary steps in order to establish this corridor that we are nowadays questioning or addressing in today's show. So what is this?
Can we bring up that map? This is, now we're calling it the TRIP, right? The Trump route for international peace and prosperity. This is what you're talking about, right?
Exactly. So Pashinyan agreed to lease 40% deep inside Armenian territories to the United States for 99 years, which means the Americans will own this territory for 99 years, and they will establish a route coming from Azerbaijan, passing through Armenia, and going all the way to the exclave of Nakhichevan, which belongs to Azerbaijan, to Turkey, and then to some of the EU countries. So what do these powers gain from this? Azerbaijan gains a lot because they now can have an access to their exclave Nakhichevan, but also they will establish trade and energy routes to the EU, because we remember the EU countries do not want to deal with Russia. They don't want to buy gas from Russia. So they are diversifying their energy resources, one of which is going to be Azerbaijan. That's why they need this route to buy more energy resources from Azerbaijan. Now, Turkey gains also a lot from this, because this gives Turkey a geopolitical connectivity with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan and Turkey consider themselves one people in two nations. And this will give also Turkey access into the Caspian Sea. And from the Caspian Sea, it will have access and projection of power over Central Asia. And this is a very important issue, because it seems that the planners in NATO, they want to use this route in order to project NATO hegemonic power over Central Asian countries or pan-Turkic countries in the next years, especially in the next decade. And this means that NATO will have influence over Central Asia also through these trade routes, something that would definitely alarm Russia in this case. So what has Armenia gained from this? This is also an important question, because Armenia is a very important signature of this deal, right? So Armenia gained promises from the EU and the United States that one day, hopefully, Armenia will join the European Union. Armenia gained promises from the United States for security guarantees that they will protect the southern part of Armenia. But this also means that Armenia has to withdraw from the CSTO, the Russian-led security alliance in this region. And they will gain some millions of dollars from the customs service. However, what they are going to lose is a lot, because Armenia has now officially capitulated Nagorno-Karabakh, according to this deal, to Azerbaijan, which means Armenia has accepted not only its defeat, but also accepted that the people who were ethnically cleansed from this enclave and were forced to live into Armenia proper, they no longer have the right to return to their homes and villages and to their farms. And this has been signed by Nikol Pashinyan. What Armenia also lost from this is that it has alarmed major powers in the region, one of which is Iran, and the other one is Russia. And Russia and Iran are active players there, and you don't want to antagonize them. You can be friends with everyone, but you don't want to become a polarizing power in the region, just like Ukraine did, for example, and this led into a huge mayhem in Ukraine, right? So Iranians are the most alarmed of this, because they see that the United States is coming on their northern borders, basically, for 99 years, and they're going to have a foothold.
Red line, can you just, one more time, does this mean American troops present there? What will be there? Because if it's ours as Americans, we'll have some presence there, right?
So Private contractors are going to protect this route, which means, of course, U.S. Special Forces. And this means through time that if any, let's say, security challenge happens in that region, the U.S. will say that this is our vital interest and there is an attack or a threat against our national security and we are on a defense mode, and they will install military bases. This is just the beginning for the U.S. to have a foothold in the Southern Caucasus in order to choke Iran and also have an influence in the Southern Caucasus. In my opinion, Iran in the past, especially after October 7, they have lost a lot in the Middle East, and now they're losing in the Southern Caucasus because what the Americans are doing, and Israelis as well, I mean, the planners there, they're coming slowly but surely on the chessboard in order to encircle Iran from all sides. They found that Iran is too powerful now militarily to defeat and to, let's say, cause a regime change there. Therefore, they're going to strangle Iran from all sides. One of the ways they're going to do it is to change the trade routes in the northern part of Iran, which Iran benefited a lot in its trade. Now all these trade routes will change, which means Iran will not only lose from the sanctions, but also will lose from its normal trade relationship in the region and abroad. And secondly, the Israelis and the Americans, what they're doing, as you remember, yesterday, the Jolani's foreign minister met with the Israeli officials in Paris, and the Israelis asked the Jolani regime to allow Israel to open a humanitarian corridor between the Golan Heights to the Druze city of Sweda. And by doing so, they want to open what is called the David's Corridor. David's Corridor extends from the Golan Heights to Sweda governorate to Al-Tanf border crossing where the American forces are stationed on the intersection of the Iraqi, Jordanian and Syrian borders, and all the way to the eastern shore of the Euphrates where the US forces are stationed and protecting the Syrian oil. And by doing so, they will have geopolitical strength and they will have the opportunity to project their geopolitical might into the southern part of Iraq in Al-Anbar, where it is called the human fuel of the axis of resistance in the region. So what they're doing is they're coming from the Southern Caucasus and they're coming from the Middle East and trying to encircle and choke Iran from all sides. But the government in Iran, now led by the so-called reformers, Pezeshkian and the rest, they want to try diplomacy with Armenia. So Pezeshkian was in Armenia yesterday, and this is a good start. Of course, Iranians are worried and they want to negotiate and see how can they achieve their interests, right, in the region. But in my humble opinion, this is not an Armenian project. This is an American-Israeli project in the region, and sooner or later the Americans will take one more step and come closer and closer to Iran, and the Iranians will realize that the diplomatic approach that they have picked at the current moment is going to be a liability for them, because the other side is not genuine for striking a deal with Iran. They want a behavior change from Iran, and this means regime change. If a behavior change means that Iran will change its geopolitical posture in the region, this is a soft coup already. So Iranians are in a dire situation, in my opinion. They have to calculate well. They don't want to go into war against Azerbaijan and Armenia in this case, but at the same time, they have to be very, very worried, in my opinion, and wary about the presence of U.S. contractors there, just like it happened in Nagorno-Karabakh, where the Israelis built smart cities, basically, in the territories that they recently occupied, the Azeris occupied. So the Israelis came and they have built smart cities. We don't know what are these smart cities about and what are their function. But surprise, surprise, coincidentally, the helicopter of Ibrahim Raisi, the former president of Iran, fell just 200 kilometers away from one of these smart cities there. So this is going to be, in my opinion, a presence for these forces to wage cyber operations, intelligence operations also inside Iranian territories.
So for the last several years, the U.S. has withheld military funding to Azerbaijan. But now, after signing this peace agreement, all of a sudden, take a look. Oh, here are some weapons to Azerbaijan. Do we have that screen from the Federal Register? Yeah. So if we go back to the map, and we see, okay, not only is the red American presence, but Azerbaijan will be armed by the United States. We can see why Iran would be uncomfortable with that. But look at Russia right there. How do they feel about this?
Natalie, there is something very important. The U.S. successive administrations didn't send weapons to Azerbaijan, but this is an ingenuine approach, because what they did, they sent weapons to Israel, and Israel sent it to Azerbaijan. 60% of Azeri weapons come from Israel. And even the Israeli press, they acknowledge that most of the weapons that Azerbaijan used against the Armenians to occupy Karabakh a few years ago were Israeli weapons, and naturally those were American weapons bought by the Israelis. So in this case, I think the Americans had an invested interest in this from the beginning, so they did it indirectly through Israel, and Israel has opened an air bridge between Baku and Tel Aviv, and they sent them tons of weapons non-stop in the past years to the tune of, I think, $8 to $10 billion. So in this case, I think that the Israelis also see Azerbaijan as an advanced satellite state for them to wage not psychological intelligence operations inside Azerbaijan. And one of the Mossad operatives said, according to one of the WikiLeaks documents, that in Azerbaijan, they feel themselves home. There are no restrictions on constraints for the Mossad operatives inside Azerbaijan, and they feel this is a fertile ground for them to plan for offensive operations inside Iran. And this was clear a few weeks ago when Israel attacked Iran. Some of these drones came from Azerbaijan, and some of the planning of this offensive was done inside Azerbaijan. So I think now we have an alliance of countries, not only in Central Asia, but also in the Middle East. And this alliance of countries give the US and Israel a dominant status in the region. It's quite clear that the current US administration has won in the Middle East after October 7. And now they are projecting this strength on Central Asia, also using the opportunity that Russia is busy with the Ukraine war by, remember what they did, the regime change in Syria and kicking most of the Russian influence from Syria. And now they're coming into Central Asia. As long as Russia is involved in this existential conflict in Ukraine, the US planners will use this opportunity to come closer and closer on the chessboard against Russia.
Well, I mean, when you understand the way that you have just laid this out, this doesn't seem like a peace deal at all. This seems like an antagonistic move. So thank you for bringing this. And again, he's just explained to us in about 15 minutes what he took an hour to explain. And I listened to you while I was walking my dog and my jaw hit the floor.
Thank you so much.
Why are we... We should not high five over this. It's not a time to high five. And as you say, if later it does end up to be something peaceful, we will high five and we will eat these words. But right now, it's a little bit
celebrate.
Scary.
I will celebrate if this turns into peace agreement. But we have major players in the region. You can't really sideline them. If they included Iran and Russia into this deal, this would have been a perfect formula for peace and lasting peace in the region. But sidelining them from such an important deal, meanwhile, they are regional and very important players in the region. I think this would alarm them. And now they will resort into, in my opinion, different approach against Armenia. And Armenia is a small country, 3 million people. Why would they play a polarizing role? You know, Ukraine was a huge country, and when they became a pawn, what happened to Ukraine? It has been destroyed, right? So as an ethnic Armenian, I don't want to see my motherhood to be destroyed or being used in this geopolitical conflict. That's why I bring these critical points, just to wake up people and open their eyes, because not everything is a pushy and colorful and balloons, as they try to portray in the press.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much. If you're not already following Kevork, you should do that on X and his YouTube show, Syrian Analysis. Thank you for staying up late to tell us this.
Thank you so much, dear.
All right.
Thanks, Kevork. Always great to see him.
Yeah, amazing analysis. All right, coming up, speaking of amazing, we're going to talk about Gavin Newsom, your favorite boyfriend. Hold on to your hats.
Hold on to your hair gel, your slimy hair gel.
We're going to talk about why he's trying to woo the country as a centrist. Okay. Yeah. We're going to get to that in a second. But before we do, we want to tell you about our friends over at Brightcore Nutrition, because you probably know this, microplastics are infiltrating every part of our lives. Scientists estimate that we consume about a credit card's worth of plastic every week through our food, water, the air we breathe. One study found particles in 100% of human lung samples. Nobody is safe from this, and it gets worse. Plastics don't just sit in your body. They cut across the gut lining, leaching into your blood, disrupting your system. They can alter gut bacteria. They've been shown to be, a hormone disruptor. And so, you want this out of your body. Even if you eat clean or unpackaged foods, you're still exposed. But your gut can help you fight back. With Kimchi One by Brightcore Nutrition, this is something that we do take every day. It's packed with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi and proven to break down BPA, helping to detox from the inside out. And it doesn't just support digestion. It helps protect your cells, your brains, your hormone, and your future. Your body was not designed to handle microplastics, but your gut can help filter this out. You just have to have the right tools. So check out Kimchi One at mybrightcore.com/redacted. If you use the code redacted, you get 25% off. Again, that's mybrightcore.com/redacted. You can also call the number on your screen for up to 50% off plus free shipping. So again, mybrightcore.com/redacted.
By the way, I love the fact that you get 25% off by just going to the website, but then you get a 50% off just if you call them. Like if you're you can be a little gregarious and just get on the phone and have a conversation with a human being, you'll get 50% off and free shipping.
Right.
There you go.
Exactly right.
That's something we should teach our kids. Like what's we always have to teach our kids. Like you go ask for it. You talk to that person.
Oh, our son is permit driving and we sent him through a drive-through and he's like, I have to talk because he's the driver now. He wasn't afraid of driving through the drive-through, but he just really didn't want to speak to a human. He's so shy.
I have to talk to a human? Wait, what?
That's funny because my daughter and I, when we go for coffee, we go pretty much like every afternoon when she's here, and she will not order from she's there every day. She knows all of the people there, but yet if they ask what she wants, she tells me and I tell them. I will speak to them directly.
But you're her daddy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's what my daughter does, too. She's like a deer in headlights. Wait, an adult is asking me a question? I can't.
Right.
Unbelievable. All right. Let's go out to California. Well, liar-in-chief of California, Gavin Newsom, is gearing up to run for president in 2028. And he's going through a world-class makeover right now. He's been begging Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, please, can I come on your show? Pretty please. It'll make me look like a centrist Democrat. It'll help me look like I'm a man of the people. Tucker Carlson has said, no way. Sorry, you're not going to use my show for your own political gains to come on here and try to pretend that you're like some sort of centrist trying to reach out to my audience. Now, Tucker didn't say those words, but I know him well enough to know exactly what he's thinking in that. And that would shut it down. Sorry, folks, you're not going to see Gavin Newsom on Tucker's show anytime soon, although maybe it would wind up like that Ted Cruz interview. So maybe it would actually be entertaining to see that. But again, this is why they don't want him on these programs because, of course, it's all part of a political ploy right now, his makeover. Joe Rogan also not having it, but plenty of MAGA influencers are more than welcoming to have him on. I don't know if it's like good ratings or what. It's being called Gavin Newsom's makeover. Well, that's what I'm calling it anyway, making his rounds on MAGA shows like Charlie Kirk's show, hoping to convince MAGA folks and independents that he's just like them. He's a man of the people, Sure, he's destroyed the state of California like a good socialist, but forget about all of that. Even my son loves Charlie Kirk. He told him right to his face. Watch.
Last night, trying to put my son to bed, he's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie going to be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is,
you canceled school for like 2 years. One day.
The point is
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Anyway, Gavin Newsom is a really good liar. And here he is on another MAGA show, the Sean Ryan show, lying right to the cameras about how he really wants to go on Joe Rogan's show, too, as part of this MAGA makeover. Watch.
After I did the post.
What do you got?
Joe Rogan texted me.
Motherfucker. Joe. I loved it. By the way, I'm a Joe Rogan fan. He ain't a fan of mine, but I'm a Joe Rogan fan. No bullshit.
Right on.
And I've lived with it for I feel like it's a decade. Back in the day. Before Joe was Joe Rogan. He was just a podcaster, man. Now he's a phenom.
Well,
and now I want to go on his show. So, Joe, please put me on your show. I've been asking to go on his show. I'm a man of the people. I want you to, you had Trump on there. That helped him become president.
I would talk to Gavin Newsom. Would you?
I don't care. Yeah, I mean, I would talk to him. I've interviewed him. I mean, I would do it again. I mean, I don't really care. But anyway, it's part of this like makeover that he's going on to these, on these like shows that are really seen as sort of independent, like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, our show, others, and trying to, show he's a man of the people. He's a centrist. Now, Philip is a huge fan, or he knows Reddit better than just about anyone, better than me for sure. And I didn't realize that there's a Reddit centrist. What do you call them on Reddit? A Reddit thread?
Subreddit.
Devoted.
Subreddit.
Just a subreddit. Oh, yeah, subreddit. Sorry. Just devoted to centrism. And here's my theory on this, but I'm going to throw this theory out. It's called r/centrist. I wouldn't be surprised if like the DNC was behind this subreddit. I want to figure out if there's a way we can figure that out, because it's all about Gavin Newsom. Like Gavin Newsom on the Sean Ryan show. It's good he's on so many shows and podcasts that have fueled MAGA narratives in more thoughtful and recent ways. And it's good he has an answer for those narratives. A great interview, refreshing, candid conversation with the Democrat in charge of the richest state in the country. I like Newsom because he actually knows about his state's economics. He's a way of cutting through the MAGA BS that Harris and Biden didn't. Goes on from there. I'm not from the U.S., but Newsom seems like by far the best potential candidate for the United States presidency. It all seems phony to me. Doesn't it seem phony to you? I mean, again, I'm no Redditor, but like there's a thread devoted to centrism and it's like all Gavin Newsom. Like who's behind this subreddit?
There have been a lot of, there's been a lot of thought control on Reddit, like proof of that for a long time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, yeah,
sure.
Of course.
And it's also like there's a lot of it is bots. A lot of Reddit has become bots.
Yeah.
So
I mean, a lot of people in our chat saying Reddit is one of the worst websites ever. Oh, man, it's like a liberal haven. Of course. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Reddit in general, Scythe 2000 says Reddit in general is far left.
I think you're, again, hurting Philip's feelings. I'm very sensitive
Philip doesn't
about
own
Philip.
Reddit?
I don't. I do not own Reddit.
Okay.
I don't even talk to anybody on Reddit.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a few subreddits I follow.
I would say that centrism is not popular on Reddit. The majority, I would say, of subreddits that reach the front page are not in favor of centrism.
They are left instead, right?
Some people in our chat saying Reddit is very similar, like Blue Sky. It's kind of like a liberal echo chamber, I would think. Yeah.
Because I would say even the conservative subreddit is more left leaning in conservatism than you would find in other places such as Twitter. I mean, that's
true.
I
Did you hear what he said? He said too wishy-washy because, like, they can't have centrism. Like, no, you got to pick a side. That's, I mean, that's a damaging way to feel.
Well, this is the conundrum then for Gavin Newsom, who's trying to become president in 2028. He's not a centrist. He's a socialist. Gone are the days of centrists. He could actually learn a thing or two about centrism from a former president of the United States who actually, by all accounts, was a centrist. Sure, he was likely a child predator, got us into foreign wars, bombed Serbia, destabilized Haiti, was married to Hillary Clinton. But Epstein's good friend Bill Clinton also balanced the budget, reduced the size of government spending. He co-opted a lot of conservative policies, made them his own in a lot of ways, launched his version of Doge, going after wasteful government spending before Trump did it. Heck, he even put Al Gore on the job to cut government wasteful garbage. He launched a welfare to work program to get people off of welfare. He even took the hardest line possible against illegal immigration. Gavin Newsom could learn something about it from watching this. Watch.
Not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Newsom, who's very much out there, outspoken about against the ICE raids that have been going around Los Angeles and San Francisco and other areas, rounding up illegal criminals, saying that this is tyranny, that Donald Trump is tyrannical? And you have a Democrat president who was saying the exact opposite of that. In 1996, President Bill Clinton actually signed the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigration Responsibility Act. Most people don't even know that. It allowed deportation without a judicial hearing. It fast-tracked it. It expedited the removal process. Get them out of here. Bill Clinton signed that. But something else has been also happening to make over his image. He's starting to troll Trump, or pretending to act like Trump, but from really like a socialist perspective, a weird, creepy socialist. So he's been posting these weird things on social media. Have you guys seen these things? This is from Governor Newsom's press office. Have a great weekend, patriots. Like trying to basically troll President Trump, I guess. Like he would use the term patriots and put an American flag, and then like left-leaning people are like, look at him, he's got an American flag. Like, I don't even understand the comedy behind some of this garbage.
I don't either. I don't find anything offensive about it. So then how can it be a troll? Like, you should say that. Say that. That's fine.
So the person behind all of this, and I'm going to show you more of these in a second, is Camila Zapata. She is his press person who's responsible for this in his press office. She's a Latina woman. And she is the one that's been posting all of this. And people are saying, we need more people like her. She leads a small but fierce team of 3, handling everything from graphic design to social media strategy to rapid-fire political comebacks, taking on President Trump. So she's the troll behind the troll, taking on MAGA. Here's an example of one of her posts on social media. Trump just fled the podium with Putin. Notice the all caps here, right? No questions, nothing. Total low energy. The man looked like he'd just eaten 3 buckets of KFC with Vlad. Is he afraid the press will ask him about me, America's favorite governor, and the fact that I stole the cameras this week with the maps? Many people are saying he begged Putin to hold his tiny hands on the way out. Admit it, Donnie J, you're terrified because this was the worst week of your life because of me, Gavin Newsom. Okay. All right.
I just literally don't get it. Like, I don't have a problem with him saying any of that. I don't think it's funny, but I also don't find it offensive. I'm like, sure, say that.
So here's another one. Well, this one, apparently, well, take a look at this one and let me hear your thoughts, David and Philip. Wow, Gavin Newsom is trolling Donald Trump in ways we haven't seen before. Here's a post, picture. So nice. And it shows Tucker and it shows, what's his name?
Kid
Rock and Hulk Hogan leaning on him. So nice. And Aaron Parnas, who says, wow, this is great trolling. We've never seen this before. Like, what? I don't even get it. Like, what's
who cares?
Who cares?
I literally can't see that that's funny. Or
the humor in it. I mean, these are incredibly popular on Reddit. If you go to the popular like sort by popular on Reddit, you will see these all over the place in lots of different subreddits. And it's just because every one of these are an example of what Trump himself has put up. And you see like the Trump with Jesus by him kind of things. That's what he's mocking. So it's
but we've
working.
already seen Trump do it. We know it's
right.
Silly.
Right,
why do we care that?
But see, the thing that like, they don't get. Hold on, Phil.
Let him finish.
No, but I want to because I have it. Sorry, I just want to make the point that the thing that they don't get is that Trump is trolling them. Like
he knows these are ridiculous things that he puts up. He doesn't mean it in the Rambo costume.
Trump wearing a Pope outfit was a joke. Like, he's trolling them. So now they're trolling him with troll. Doesn't make any sense. Am I wrong, Philip? I mean,
because I would argue that a lot of those things, especially like the religious connotation ones, are effective. Like, because I think of like my mom, who's an evangelical, and like she sees something like that, and she's like, oh yes, Jesus does bless Trump, and that's just her thinking. So it is effective in that. And I would say that like, because if what Gavin Newsom is doing is trying to build up to a presidential campaign, it is working and building the popularity where he would need it. Because if you look at just taking Reddit as an example, these are incredibly popular there. And so he is reaching people that probably, because prior to him starting to do this, you rarely ever heard about him. You heard about him like the California fires or here and there, but now this stuff is everywhere. And I mean, so like I see it as bad.
Of other, like Jared Polis in Colorado, other liberal governors with, failed immigration policies. It instead makes him this sort of media superstar.
Right. He gets to not talk about his failed immigration policies. Right. He gets to not talk about the fact that he's like, land grabbing land, in Los Angeles after the fires. He gets to talk about this and have fun, poke fun at this stuff rather than talking about his horrible gun problem in California. More gun control laws and yet massive amounts of violence in your state. Despite all of your gun control laws?
Well, somebody who thinks this is funny, explain why it's funny. Because we've already seen it. We've seen Trump do it. We laugh when he does it. I don't laugh at the knockoff.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, like this one's supposed to be, I don't get what this is. Governor Press, here's that Deshane guy says, every Democratic politician needs to bully Donald Trump the same way that Newsom is. Is it bullying? Again, I don't know if people are they just want to like say that in their like Reddit threads or on Blue Sky. Here's Governor Newsom's Be Best. Like, what is, okay.
Be Best is Melania's campaign.
Yeah.
Which again, it's fine.
It's just like, anti-cyberbullying.
Right.
Like, it's all about it's all like anti-cyberbullying. Like that's the whole campaign. So here you're literally posting a meme about an anti-cyberbullying campaign. Okay, here's another one. Donald Taco Trump, as many call him, missed the deadline. California will now draw new, more beautiful maps. They will be historic as they will end the Trump presidency. Dems take back the House. Big press conference this week with powerful Dems and Gavin Newsom, your favorite governor. That will be devastating for MAGA. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. But they're not written by him, Gavin Newsom. They're written by Camila Zapata. So when he signs off that this is written by Gavin Newsom, that's a lie. It's not written by him. The funny thing is that Trump actually writes most of his stuff. He literally sits there and dictates it to somebody who then types it and puts it out there. So he's not even writing these things. But anyway.
This is not a defense of that behavior on behalf of Trump. I just literally don't get mocking it by doing it yourself. But I guess some people find it funny. So if you can explain the humor to me, maybe I'm just...
I would say that like the sentiment I see the most is not necessarily that. I mean, people find it funny, but they find it funny in sort of like not a haha, this is hilarious, but like a comeuppance sort of way. And it's the way people
but
like.
But nobody's owned by it. Like Trump doesn't seem embarrassed by it. He doesn't rise to this. Nobody cares except his own people who are already prone to be loyal to him.
But you have to think about the people this is appealing to are the people that were pissed off that Kamala Harris ended up running for president in an end around. They're the people that are sick of like the Democrats just toeing the line and not doing anything. So they see the Democrats as weak, and so that's how they see liberal politicians. They see them as weak-willed and they won't do anything. So when they see somebody, because the thing they say a lot is when they went low, we went high. And so now this is them. What they're championing is this is us going low. That's how they're looking at it. And so
here's one example. Here's Donicia says this: Obama had to go high because he was black. This is a liberal writing this. Okay, Obama had to go high because he was black. Gavin Newsom is using his white privilege he has as he's basically going low. Okay, so because you have white privilege.
Yeah. I guess I just don't get it because I don't take the president's tweets seriously. Yeah. So a mockery of it doesn't... I mean, I'm not a MAGA loyalist, so I guess it doesn't matter, but I'm wondering who's upset? Like, that's fine that your base thinks it's funny and they think they're trolling, but if nobody on the right is responding to it, who cares?
Yeah.
But okay, you're having fun. That's
again, cool. I mean, if it does like piss off a few people on the right, then I'm sure they're good with that. But I don't think, like in my opinion, I don't think that's the point. I think the point is to reach the people appeal to the people he's wanting to appeal to. And in that regard, it does seem like it's working. Because like I said, 2 weeks ago, you never heard about Gavin Newsom on Reddit or like other places like that. And now all of a sudden he's everywhere. And so all right,
maybe that is working.
What he's doing.
So the Blue Sky people are now like paying attention to him. So I guess maybe that's
Exactly.
the key.
Okay.
The liberal echo chamber.
Maybe they want, because Donald Trump is such a troll, they want to take the troll title because it's unifying.
I guess. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think that's
All
it.
right.
They want to see the Democrats go low. That's what they want.
Yeah.
They're tired that,
Well, I mean,
there's
Jared-
a certain there's a certain group of people that are left-leaning people that's what they want. They want to see Democratic politicians go low, and this is feeding them.
Dirt. Yeah. Well,
All right.
They go low in a lot of ways, which is behind the scenes. So,
Right.
I mean, like literally look at what Hillary Clinton did at Bernie Sanders. I mean,
Oh, no, they go low to murder.
right.
Like, ever heard of Libya? Yeah, they do. They go low.
Yeah.
So that's fun that you can slap that fun, cool label on murder. I thought, not that Republicans don't condone that, but
We'll take some of your super chats here in a second. Yeah, we'll wrap things up here in a minute. But first,
Clayton's going to tell you about our friends over at Hillsdale College.
okay, I will. This is unconstitutional. Have you ever heard someone yell that in the media, maybe on a podcast or a YouTube show, say this? Probably. Did you just take their word for it? Have you ever taken the time to read and understand for yourself the meaning of the United States Constitution? My young daughter is about to be learning about all of this now, and I'm thrilled about it because her daddy is a history major and love the founding of our country and love the history of it. And now guess what? You can study at Hillsdale College for free and take some of these incredible classes. I'm so excited that Hillsdale College is offering a brand new free online course called The Federalist. You can learn about the Federalist Papers, written primarily by two of America's most important founding fathers, Hamilton and Madison. Together, they explain how the United States Constitution established a government strong enough to secure the rights of citizens, safe enough to wield that power. So if you got a little, and you got some time at night, maybe your kids are going through high school now, just learning about this stuff. Instead of like sitting there watching Netflix or some other, BS, you could go to Hillsdale College and you can actually take a free course, enroll, no cost at all. It's easy to get started. Just go to hillsdale.edu/redacted. and enroll in one of these free classes. Again, take the Federalist course. If you're interested in the topic, there's so many to choose from. They have more than 40 free online courses. Courses on C.S. Lewis, the stories of the book of Genesis, rise and fall of the Roman Republic, all of it. Go to hillsdale.edu/redacted and take a free course. Educate yourself on something maybe you don't feel like you know enough about. hillsdale.edu/redacted. All right, let's take a few super chats here. Jan Ozephius, let me put this up. It says, greetings from the Netherlands, maybe the real center of idiocy in the almost totally Marxist EU. Thank you for your 11 euro donation. We appreciate that. On Hungary, thank you for your $5 donation. As a Hungarian, I condemn that Ukrainian attack on the oil pipeline. Oops, went away. Put it back up. As a Hungarian, I condemn this, and I would have joined the RU for the special military operation, but it would mean going against Hungarians conscripted, keeps popping away, sorry, against their will by Ukraine. Conscripted against their will by Ukraine. Oh, yeah. Clinton says, yes, we don't like commies in this country. That's true. Let's see, what else? Cause, Reddit is for trolls. Pay the toll or lose brain cells. Yeah, there are a few like Reddit subreddits that I like our games and rumors. I like that one. There's a couple, I think there's like a fly fishing one that I follow. Something about like game, yeah, something game related, but I don't really use it at all, to be honest with you. Very rarely. I almost forget about it until like it pops up like that. So, it's kind of funny how an entire like kind of environment or like I guess you call it an echo chamber like exists like that, where they're like sharing all these Gavin Newsom memes because they think it's fun and like no one else sees it. Like it's kind of in this like weird little vortex, I don't know. I just find that funny. Let's see. Ukraine will not end well if they don't listen to Trump. End it now. That's right. All right. Is David here today? I haven't heard him at all.
Yeah, he tried to chime in, but then I ran him over, just like I did right now.
People are like, where's David? Is he here?
I'm here. Hello.
Yeah, you have to get that evil Hamas out of Gaza. Right. It absolutely is a brilliant strategy. Label everyone there as Hamas, and then, they're all terrorists. So that's why you've got to literally level the entire area. It's a brilliant strategy. It's also a brilliant strategy. I was talking to a friend who didn't understand like the history of October 7th. And I said, well, it's a brilliant strategy, right? It's just like, September 11th, use it as like a phenomenal false flag operation. Israel loves false flags. They love them. I mean, think how many they've carried out, right? So Israel loves false flag operations. They're brilliant because it rallies people around a common cause. So if you are Israel, a brilliant move is to stop this sort of, the tracking, trying to grab somebody here, trying to grab somebody there, the thousands of hostages that they carry. But no, let them come to you, let them attack you. Sure, you're going to sacrifice a few hundred Israelis, but you know what? It's worth it for them. Like, hey, we're going to kill off a bunch of our soldiers in this false flag operation. Allow them to attack us on October 7th. Stand down. Don't fight back. Allow them to attack us. As IDF soldiers have now admitted, they were told to stand down. And and then you don't stop. Now it's part of the Greater Israel Project, so you get to take that land permanently, and that's what's going to happen. And you get the whole, and then anyone who is critical about it or calls out the BS, you call them anti-Semite. It's a brilliant strategy because then you shut down all conversation about it. It's amazing because we were in Egypt right when this happened on October 7th, and the Egyptians had told the Israelis, intelligence, we know what's coming. The attack is about to happen. We told you. We actually gave you the intelligence that showed you. The most heavily fortified fence in the world with the cameras. They knew everything, and a guy with a donkey could come across. Right. How stupid do you think we are? A lot of stupid people out there, though, truly. And they watch CNN. Clayton Morris, the philosopher. I am a philosopher from time to time. Hey, thank you, Smooches. Appreciate it. This channel started out so good and went hard and fast. Such a pity. Wasted potential. I know when we talk about Israel, it really upsets people. I know you guys like to defend it. And when we tell you the truth about what's going on, it really bothers you.
Yeah, history will not be kind to a lot of people.
I know.
And on the
that's the thing.
On the philosophy thing.
Oh, you can't talk about Israel. You can't talk about this. That's off limits. So, like on this show, we cover everything. We cover child sex trafficking. We covered Armenia, Azerbaijan. We covered Poland today. We covered the Hungarian oil pipeline attack by Ukraine. Okay, flip on CNN if you're gonna see any of that coverage. You probably won't see any of it. You flip on Fox News. You get like a pro-rally. Maybe Netanyahu or Mike Huckabee will sit down and tell you what's really going on in Israel. Thank you, Two Smooches.
Because if you're just wanting your biases confirmed, this is not the channel for you.
Yeah. Ban Redacted. Hamas is hiding there. They've lost complete control of the narrative. That is a good question. Do you think that, because so many young conservatives absolutely do not support what's happening in Gaza. So a lot of young conservatives, it's probably, mostly over 50, sort of the Mark Levin conservatives really support it. I think it's going to really hurt. I think this is definitely why J.D. Vance is kind of really stepping back from this. We'll see how he really feels about all of this. But he's definitely taken a lot of money from Israel as well, and the Israel lobby. So, but we'll see how much support he gets from young people if he runs for office. Let's see. Keep telling the truth. Thank you so much. Exactly. Red Raider. The Zionist government bothers me, not the Israeli people. Exactly. I have a very close friend who lives in downtown Tel Aviv. I speak to him like almost every day. So it's not the Israeli people. It's the Israeli government. It's the Zionist government. Do you know what's really fascinating? And my friend who lives in Tel Aviv, he told me, he said, you know what's amazing about the Zionist government of Israel? They didn't even believe the Holocaust survivors. do your research on this, but in the first like basically 10 years of Israel's history, the Zionist leaders thought that they were basically making it up. They thought, how could you be so stupid that you'd be rounded up and put in ghettos? Like what? They just couldn't fathom it. So it wasn't until the Shoah project really unfolded where like Zionists like started actually paying attention to it. But kind of behind closed doors, they really didn't believe it. And they've actually thought, like, how could you be so stupid to get rounded up by these people, these Nazis who are telling you that they're just going to move you to a new house? So it's interesting. The author of a really fascinating book, the man who escaped Auschwitz, or Escaping Auschwitz, the Jew that wrote that book, Jew that wrote the book, but about the individual who escaped Auschwitz. When he got out, and he was telling the Zionist leaders in Budapest what he saw, and he was detailing in incredible detail about the trains, what time the train would show up, how these they would arrive on these different platforms, and the number of Hungarian Jews that would get out, and et cetera, et cetera. And he was telling the Zionist leadership in Hungary, they ignored it. I mean, they basically put his report in a shelf and hid it and didn't even report it. Didn't send it to FDR. Managed to keep it hidden. How many more Jews died as a result of the Zionists than if they would have listened to the Jews that actually escaped from Auschwitz, for crying out loud? Israel funds Hamas, says Izzy. Yeah, we know that. Well, we've covered that. Israel created Hamas. Netanyahu was on the record talking about this. In the United States, they didn't have weapons until the United States armed Hamas. So, it's a brilliant strategy, right? It's what we did with Al-Qaeda, for crying out loud, right? It's a brilliant move. Like, create this group, fund them, arm them, radicalize them, and then use them as a false flag under which to carry out your dreams. Carry out the Greater Israel Project. Carry out 9/11.
All you have to do is create a boogeyman, and you can pretty much get people on board because they just propaganda the shit out of you with the boogeyman stuff.
Yeah,
that to me is exactly why they're doing the space stuff, because again, that stuff we can't verify, and they can create a boogeyman in space, and then it's just an unlimited money for them to keep us in constant fear that we're going to be attacked by aliens.
Yeah. Someone says POWs say they're correct. Yeah, exactly. These are flying so by so quick. I'm trying to click on them, but they're flying so by so quickly, so fast. It's hard for me to get them on here. The false flag flies over the Capitol. Yes, Clayton, 100%. Thank you. Yo mama. Jewish space lasers. What's actually pretty incredible if you think about it. Because we're like almost immediately on October 7th, we here at Redacted were reporting what was happening, and on the very day that October 7th happened, or right almost the same day, because we were in Egypt at the time, right, not too far from Rafah. And the border area, and we were reporting that the Egyptian intelligence had told Israel about what was coming on October 7th, and they didn't do anything about it. They intentionally ignored it. So right from the beginning, like, we were telling, the truth of what was happening there, and also debunking all the babies and ovens BS that has now been debunked and everything else. And even the New York Times had to issue a correction on that lie. But it doesn't matter, because the lie, again, the lie travels around the world before truth has a chance to put on its pants. But anyway, right at the beginning, when we were live, it was amazing to watch the comments, because we were getting so many bots in the comments. Do you remember that, David? I don't know if it was like Mossad bots or what, but we were getting flooded with bots. And they were all basically saying the same thing. It was like, anti-Semite, unsubscribe. And it was just like we're not anti-Semitic. What are you talking about? Just reporting the news. We're telling the truth. Like, so just because you're telling the truth, you're labeled an anti-Semite? Okay, whatever. But anyway, it was remarkable. They've mostly fallen off. Like, I don't know if they just Like the Hasbara monkeys are just not, they're just not funding anymore, or I don't know what they're doing. Or they just like, it's kind of
What's crazy
interesting
to me
see.
also is that Christians don't tend to do any research on what the Jewish religion actually believes that's so counter to Christianity. Like it's a completely counter to their own belief. And so, you know, if the so many like Christian Zionists follow and support Israel, not even knowing that they're vehemently opposed religiously.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't understand, like, that a lot of the teachings or rabbinical interpretations of it, and this is where a lot of the fallacies come from. So, like Ted Cruz being so totally ignorant on the subject of Christian Zionism, what that, and talking out specifically about that we need to protect Israel. I was having a really fascinating conversation with a Jew the other night. He's Jewish and he's a Christian pastor, and he said, "Man, the level of ignorance among Christians on this is phenomenal." He goes around the world and teaches actually and tries to educate Christians on this because there's a lot of people.
I would say that's.
Yeah.
Oh, I would tie that to the reason that young conservatives don't necessarily back Israel in this, as being because young conservatives are just young people in general are tending to be less religious, particularly establishment like go to church Christians. And that's where that, because like anybody that studies, any biblical scholar knows like this stuff for what it is. But it's like, because growing up, like I grew up evangelical Christian, and in church, that's what they said. You have to defend Israel. Like that's God's chosen people. Like it's our job to do. And so it's like there's no like biblical. You're not going to find it anywhere. There's a lot of like gymnastics that have to be done to get you there. And so I would argue that young conservatives, because they're not feeding into the church system, that's why they're not necessarily parroting that same narrative.
Yeah.
Well, and also the other day when Netanyahu pulled out the Bible, I mean, that's basically using it as a weapon to get support, from just like preying on their weakness.
Yeah. Yeah, and the idea of like, well, what are you talking about? Defend Israel, like defend the secular state of Israel. What are you talking about exactly? Again, it's all. And I'm not well versed in it. I'm not as well versed in it as obviously some of the pastors that we've had on, like Doug Wilson and others, and even the pastor that I was speaking to the other night who's Jewish. And he's like, people just don't understand. They really don't understand that. And also when the idea that what you're saying basically is that then you don't really support or you don't believe in Jesus because you're waiting for Messiah to come back. So you're waiting for this like second version of that. So then what are you exactly? What exactly are you supporting if you're waiting on this second Messiah to come back to a spot in Israel where Armageddon will take place and those people? So and the Jews that aren't Christian won't be saved, right? The idea is that they'll come back and Christians who are true believers will be saved. So then, like, what are you saying?
And then
that makes no sense that you're supporting Israel to be Armageddon? Like they're going to all die? Like what?
Jesus is going to come back and say, thank you so much for leveling and killing all these people and leveling this land for me and building these condos because I thought I was going to come, stay in hovel.
Right. So all the Jews that were here that weren't true Christians, thank you. This is where Armageddon is going to take place. And well, they've all died because they weren't true believers. So thanks all you Christians for saying that got to support Israel. Like, does it make any sense at all? No. That's crazy. Exactly, as Glow Blue Forever says, the prophecy has already been fulfilled. Jesus is the Savior. So if you believe that, and that's your true faith, and that's your true north, then why are you then waiting for this second version of this? I don't get it. It doesn't really make any sense to me. But Ted Cruz doesn't seem to understand that. There's a lot of people that don't seem to understand that. I was talking to a couple of my Christian friends. They're like, yeah, in Texas, there's a lot of people that just believe, like, we're taught, absolutely, you have to support Israel as a Christian. God's chosen people. And they're like, they just don't understand it. They're literally ignorant about it. They don't get it. There's a lot of misinformation, but it's a brilliant. I mean, the marketing around this is absolutely brilliant. Like, imagine that. Having one religion forcibly support another one. To like stand down and to like label those individuals as like God's chosen people.
It's basically Israel is weaponizing religion against Christians. I mean, and they know it. They know that that's what they are told to believe, so they use it as a weapon to do whatever they want, to just go out and to just basically do whatever they want.
Oh man, it's a fascinating world we live in, isn't it? Hey, I'm excited because Timothy Alberino is going to be here in the studio in a short amount of time. I'm going to sit down and have a great conversation with him. He's going to be here visiting in the studio, and we're going to sit down and talk about the Nephilim. What are they hiding in the Smithsonian? He's done so much research on this, and we're going to deep dive all of that. We're going to publish that, I think, on Friday. It depends on how much editing is involved in getting like a lot of good B-roll in there and everything else. So Philip's going to work on that. Hopefully we'll get that out by Friday if all goes as according to plan.